You are listening to the Special Needs Children podcast with Chitra Iyer. Chitra Iyer is a parent of 23-year-old Shravan Iyer who has epilepsy, cerebral palsy and autism. She is the CEO of MFA and has been helping families with life-centered planning to reach their personal financial goals. She is also a trustee of a parent support group, the Forum for Autism, which was set up almost 2 decades ago. MFA is a 17-year-old organization working in the personal finance space. They have set up a dedicated practice to help families with special needs children to plan their financial goals and invest for them. The thoughts shared here are as a result of discussions with parents, caregivers, siblings, and professionals regarding the planning of a person with special needs. They have set up a dedicated practice to help families with special needs children to plan their financial goals and invest for the same. The thoughts shared here are as a result of discussions with parents, caregivers, siblings, and professionals regarding the planning of a person with special needs. In this expert series podcast, Chitra Iyer is talking to Miss Deepa Bhat Nair, a prominent speech and language pathologist who is a certified master trainer and head of the ComDeal program.
Hi Deepa, a big warm welcome to you on this expert series of my podcast for special needs children.
Hi Chitra, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me here.
Oh, no. Thank you for your time and agreeing to do this interview with me. You know, I've been fortunate to have known you for over 2 decades now, Deepa, when you think back. I still remember how we used to come to Chennai Road, get out of the train and come straight to you. And it used to always be such a learning experience every time we met you. And understood so many concepts from you about how to engage with our child and how best, what all forms includes, it goes into speech therapy, and you've been such a fantastic resource for us at Forum for Autism also. And you've been really amazing teaching so many families, how many people you've counseled, how many kids have actually been inside a school, all thanks to you and your team's efforts. So just to introduce you formally to our listeners, today I have with me Miss Deepa Bhat Nair. She's a speech and language pathologist with over 20 years of experience. She's a key member of the ComDeal Trust, known to all of us as Communication Deal, the program started by Dr. Pratibha Karant. A beautiful program that Deepa set up in Mumbai. And as I told you, they have counseled and helped so many children through not only just a speech, but also complete intervention that she will share with us today as to how and why they developed this program and how they went about implementing it, to see how at an early age, Deepa used to always say, Chitra, catch them really before 5, before 6, and you can do wonders. You cannot even, you will see a changed child whom you cannot even figure, that the child has autism. So she's an expert on understanding and intervening in social communication disorders, especially autism. Welcome again, Deepa, and I'm going to dive straight into the questions because I really want to listen to a lot of what you have to share with us today. It's going to be like a short ride, but a lot of listening and learning from you. So can you please share your journey with us, everything, your role in ComDeal and also in setting up your Mumbai unit?
Thanks, Chitra, for that wonderful introduction and kind words. Straight off, I must say that I feel very humbled and privileged to be in a position where I can do the kind of work that, I'm able to. It's something that is extremely rewarding and something where I keep learning all the time. And to answer your question as to, how I got into speech therapy and how I set up the unit, the ComDeal unit in Mumbai. right from my high school days, I was very clear that I wanted to take up a profession, and a professional degree was what I was looking for. And I had a cousin in speech and hearing, and to be very honest, when I got into it, I really didn't know what I was getting into. I'll be very honest about it. But having got into it, I was fortunate because I found it was something that I was very passionate about. And speech and language pathology attracted me right from the start. So much so that, by the time I finished my post-graduation, I got a university gold medal in speech and language pathology. And even within that, childhood language disorders has always been my area of interest. Thanks to my clinical work and my interest, I was fortunate that right from my student days, Dr. Pratibha Karanth has been around to mentor me right through my profession. Many people will know that she is the pioneer of speech and language pathology in India, and the kind of work that she's done with adult aphasics and later on with autism is known all over. And I have been fortunate to be mentored by her. Working with children has always been something that has interested me, has been my passion, and where I have had my maximum learning. I'm married to an Indian naval officer, so because of which I have traveled a lot. The early years of my profession, I worked in Kerala, in Cochin, at childcare center, which is run by the Indian Academy of Pediatricians. And this is where I got my first exposure to multidisciplinary work, working with children with learning disabilities. Because traditionally, we are not taught to work in teams. It is something that we pick up along the way, at least during my time. So working with a group of pediatricians and psychiatrists trained at NIMHANS and related professionals gave me the exposure to understand how a team is so much more powerful than one person, and what a team brings to the development of the child as a whole. So that was my early beginning. And I took a break in between when I had my baby for about a year, and that is when we moved to Mumbai. Coming to Mumbai, I was very clear I wanted to work with children, I wanted to work with language disorders, and the kind of setups that I was interested in, unfortunately, had no openings for me at that time. So another serendipitous accident happened, and I ended up starting my own private practice in Mumbai. I said, if I can't get the kind of work that I want to do, I will do it on my own. It wasn't easy in the beginning because, the city was very new to us as a family. I had no professional networks that I could bank on, and I had, nobody in the medical profession in my family who could guide me or hold my hand through the process of setting up a private practice. It was quite funny, actually, because the initial couple of months, my husband had to, pay my rent, and my brother, who was living with us at the time, would laugh and, ask me that, have you had any work to do this month or not? So from there, I must say that I built it up, and by the fourth month, I was making my rent, and there has been no looking back ever since. So that is a little bit about how I started in Mumbai. And to come to why I started the ComDeal unit in particular, so there was this 2.5-year-old child who came to me for help, a child on the autism spectrum. He used to come to me for speech and language therapy. He used to go to Dadar for occupational therapy. I was based in Kafpared at the time, and the family used to travel up and down from Kolaba to Kafpared to Dadar for the various services that he required. Now, working with him over 7 to 8 months, there was a lot of change in the boy. When he came in, he couldn't sit still. He had terrible temper tantrums. I remember, if his mother's kinetic Honda didn't start on time outside the clinic, he would literally roll on the floor and create a ruckus there. So that is the kind of difficulty he had. But, over the course of the months with the mother and the grandmother and the entire family helping the child, he started doing well. And I told the mother, I think now we should put him into a school. I must be honest and say that the mother was more perceptive at that time than I was. And she said, Deepa, I don't think this child is ready for a group. Uh, Whenever somebody even passes by him, if there's another child, he just freezes. I don't know how he will settle down into a classroom. So again, luck smiled upon me, and a chance meeting with Dr. Karan, who was visiting Mumbai at the time, and I went to meet her and said, "Ma'am, this is the predicament I am in. What can I do?" So she said, "Look, I have started the ComDeal program in Bangalore precisely to answer this problem, where families are traveling from one end of the city to another, where the costs of intervention are prohibitive, where the hours of intervention that children require are not being available to children, and children are not getting the group intervention that they really need to build a strong foundation that can enable them to get mainstream." So she said, "Why don't you start the same unit in Bombay?" Now, having, hearing that from my mentor, nothing could be more exciting. Imagine having an opportunity to work with her so closely. Without thinking twice, I said yes. So then began the process of looking for a bigger premise, the process of letting people know that this is something that we are starting, and we are ready to work with children with autism. And that is where I must say that the Forum for Autism and Chitra, all of you stepped in and strengthened my hands in terms of, so much of support that you all have extended to me in the initial years and right throughout. And a big thank you for that. So that's how we started the unit initially in Colaba, and at the end of the year, we were doing well enough to be able to move to a bigger premise in Cherny Road next to Saifi Hospital, where we have been since 2003. It wasn't easy, and putting a team together, understanding how to work with groups of children with autism, that's something I'd never done. I used to actually get up at 4 a.m. every day and send long emails to Dr. Karan describing what had happened, what were the challenges, and she would reciprocate in kind and strengthen me in terms of being able to handle, the team, manage the team to give the best to the children that we were working with. Before I move on, I must say that this little boy for whom everything started is today an engineer and, is well placed, working in a MNC as we speak.
So that's absolutely awesome, Deepa.
Yeah. So yes, so it's rewarding, Chitra, because now I have children coming back to me, children who haven't been in touch and telling me, look, here we are, and we were with you in the early years of our lives. It's really nice. Just yesterday, one of the mothers called me and she said, Deepa, now that my daughter is grown up and she's working, she doesn't need me anymore. And I find I have a lot of time on my hands. I'm writing a book in Hindi about autism. And why don't you send me a few links about what ComDeal is all about? Because that's where the journey started for my daughter. So this is really the reward of doing the kind of work that we do. And that's really the story of ComDeal in Mumbai in a nutshell.
Brilliant. I therefore ask you, Deepa, how beautifully you explained. Can you please share how important is your role, therefore, in the intervention for a child?
Chitra, so I'm going to answer that in two levels. One is, as a speech and language therapist, that's the first that I would like to take this question. And second is my role today in the team is more of a consultant where, I have a slightly different role to play. In the early years, I worked hands-on with the team as a speech and language therapist. So assessing the children, understanding, what are their strengths, what are their areas of weakness, what is preventing them from communication, and then planning the intervention thereafter to address their areas of weakness, using their areas of strengths to pull the profile up. So that is really what was my role as a speech and language therapist. Over the years, after working hands-on for about 15 years, I evolved into more of a consultant role. So today I have a holistic picture of the child. I look at it from every angle, in terms of the sensory motor development, in terms of how much is the child understanding, how is the child communicating, what is the social development like, what is the emotional development like, does the child understand words like happy, sad, disappointed, frustrated, what do I need to do in order to facilitate that. So these are the kind of things that the team puts in, and I help the team to look at it holistically. To give you a small example, yesterday we had a referral of a 14-year-old boy who wasn't writing well enough. So the psychologist referred to us for an OT assessment, saying that there may be some issues with fine motor. We would like your occupational therapist to have a look. So when she assessed, she said, Deepa, there's nothing wrong in the sensory motor domain. He's doing quite well. So, that's where the holistic understanding comes in. And I said, look, from the history of this child, it seems to me that he may have a difficulty with communication. It seems to me that he has a difficulty reading between lines. He has a difficulty in understanding the grace, in being able to plan what he wants to say. And that might be slowing down his ability to, plan and write. So we recommended that this child should get an evaluation of his communication skills. And we told the parents that that's where he needs strengthening and not in the motor domain. So the holistic perspective is what I bring to the team these days, Chitra.
That's super. Really, really very nicely shared, because I think your role as a speech pathologist to the entire team and the way your entire process flows in Comdeal was something way beyond, even what you, I think, perhaps originally set out to do. So coming to the next question, Deepa, what are some of the do's and don'ts of speech therapy?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, Chitra, because I think there are lots of misconceptions as far as speech and language therapy is concerned. And sometimes many things that happen in our country are not what should be happening. So I'm happy to share whatever learnings I have had over the years, both through my clinical practice and my own readings. So first and foremost, speech and language therapy has to be fun, because we are talking about facilitating or helping language to develop. No child is taught language. So if you look back to your own growing up years, Chitra, you will remember that nobody taught you to speak. You just started speaking organically one day, okay? But you were fortunate to be in an environment that was language rich, that interacted with you in so many different ways. And you were also fortunate that the various processes within your body allowed you to respond to that environment and pick up speech. So speech is never taught. Speech has to be facilitated. So we need to help the child to develop the processes that are, not allowing him to pick up speech and communication. At the same time, we need to provide a language-rich environment so that as the child's profile develops, the child is also in an environment which will help the language to flourish. So if we have somebody who's telling you, sit in front of a mirror and repeat after me, you are definitely in the wrong place. That is not what is speech and language therapy all about. It is a lot of play. We need to be playing with our children. We need to be having a lot of fun, because research also tells us that language develops maximally when anxiety is at the minimum. A child who is really, highly anxious will not develop speech and language at the same pace as a child who is in a happy and supported environment. So that's really what Comdeal does, provides a very supportive environment where the therapist goes down to the level of the child and brings the child up. So play guided by science. So it's not just playing. It is understanding what the child's developmental profile is, and then thinking of activities which will enable and help the child to participate in those activities. Also understanding what are the kind of prompts or various kind of supports that the child needs in order to be able to engage in that activity. Providing them, because it is important that the child experiences success at every step of the way. because a child who experiences failure is going to think twice before he tries again. So that's something that I keep, talking to our parents and telling them, never demand speech. I know as a parent how difficult it is. You are dying to hear your child speak, and the moment a sound or a word comes out, you want that to be repeated again and again and again, and you're like, Abhi mama bola tha, dobara bolo, fir se bolo. But that is the biggest no that you can do. We need to create environments. We do need them to, practice their speech skills, but in fun ways. So that is one. Second is total communication. So we are not going to be focused only on getting the child to speak. If we look at a typical baby who is developing, a lot happens before the age of 1 year. The baby will learn to smile at you. The baby will learn to point. The baby will learn to nod his head. The baby will learn to use gestures. All of this is communication. So we can't be so focused on speech that we neglect to help the child to develop these skills. They are very critical to the development of speech. And one of the things that I find beautiful about the work that we do with our children is, as they settle down, a child who has come in sometimes with a blank slate, there is no emotion whatsoever on the child's face. And then we see, the smiles are coming in, the disgust is showing on the child's face, sadness is showing. There is a gamut of emotions that begin to develop on the face. So, so that is a total communication that we are talking about that we need to focus on. We also need to help, as speech and language therapists, we need to help parents understand that many of the behavioral challenges, the temper tantrums, the anger, the biting, the hitting, a lot of it comes from communication frustration. So it is not very often behavior therapy that the child requires, but supporting of the communication that the child requires. And when we do that, we find that a lot of these behaviors settle down on their own. And that is also brings me to the importance of early intervention. When children come in very early, we find that these behavioral issues do not develop because we are supporting the communication right from a very early age. The last point in the do's that I want to talk about is the importance of developing functional communication. I have had the fortunate, I've been fortunate enough to be able to travel across India and see the various kind of work that happens in different places. And sometimes I see words like Christmas tree and apple. Apple is still, I could say has some functional value, but ox cart and, these kind of words being targeted in therapy, which have no functional value at all for the child. The child needs to develop words like, give me, I want more of this, yes, no, help, come, carry me, help me, hello, bye-bye. So all of this comes under functional communication. So either through gestures or through an app on a tablet or through speech or through pictures, in whichever way possible, we need to help our children to communicate what we call functional language that has or used to the child in a day-to-day interaction. So finally, that brings me to the don'ts, Chitra. So if your therapist is telling you your child is not sitting, come back to me after your child learns to sit. Don't go back to that person, because that person is wasting your child's time. Time is of importance. Helping the child to sit is the job of a speech and language therapist, as well as along with other members of the team. And when he or she works with your child at that stage, there will be a lot of language inputs that will go into your child's development. A team approach is very important. So if somebody tells you your child can't speak and I'm the only one that is required to work with your child, that's not the right advice. All aspects of development needs to be looked into. Every team member is important. Every aspect of development nests into the other. So it's like, the nesting cups that we use to build a tower. So each aspect of development will influence each other. So we need a team to work with our children. And we definitely need to use visual supports, alternate communication as early as possible. So if somebody is telling you you don't need any pictures, your child will not speak if you use pictures, again, that's a big no-no. It's not the right kind of advice that you are hearing. So that's in a nutshell, Chitra, about the do's and don'ts of speech and language therapy.
Deepa, you have made one of the best videos. If I can share that, all the parents or any professional who's listening to this podcast should definitely look up your pre-learning video. How beautifully you had structured the all of it. So, Deepa, moving on in connection to what you just shared, how can I know if my child will speak? What would you tell a parent?
Yeah. So before I answer that, I'll take a second to talk about that video in case parents want to access it. I got the chance to develop this during my work as the affiliations coordinator for the Comdeal Trust Bangalore. So there are at one point in my life there were two hats that I was wearing. One was that of a private practitioner where I was running my own Comdeal unit affiliate in Mumbai. And also, I was employed by the Comdeal Trust as part of a Tata project to help them to set up other units of Comdeal like the Mumbai one across India. So during the course of this work, I got the opportunity to develop a video on pre-language development, the various aspects of development that need to fall into place before a child will actually start speaking. And it's freely available on YouTube. Any of you can Google the Comdeal Trust pre-learning skills and access the video. Those of you who are looking to work on speech and language skills for your children, I would definitely recommend having a look at it, because you will understand the concept of total communication that I'm talking about much better if you see that video. So coming to the most important question, will my child speak? When will my child speak? Nobody can really answer that. Nobody can tell you with any degree of certainty that, within a year, your child is going to start speaking. Nobody can answer that. But there are certain indicators that tell us that the potential for this child to speak are better. Some of those indicators include the age at which you start intervention. The earlier, the better. The degree of difficulty that the child has. If the child is more severely on the spectrum, then the likelihood of the child being able to speak could be difficult. I will not close that window for any child, because there are a number of people who have gone on to speak as adults, maybe not as fluently as you or me, but definitely have developed speech. But it is difficult. It also depends on the degree of motor involvement. So a child who cannot imitate motor movements will find it difficult to develop speech. A child who cannot use gestures also tells you that the degree of motor involvement is high. The degree of oromotor involvement, the ability to move the various articulators, such as the jaw, the lips, the tongue, to be able to blow, to suck, to chew. So if these are affected, then speech could get affected. So these are some of the things that we look at as indicators, prognostic indicators, as to whether the child is likely to develop speech or not.
Sure. So moving on, therefore, what factors influence successful mainstreaming of a child into regular schools? You have worked so hard on this, and I still remember some stories, Deepa, where after the parents have been with you, and when they used to call me back and they used to thank and say, "Hey, you know what? My child got admission." It was really so heartwarming, so rewarding when I heard that every single time. So how is it for you? How did you go about doing this?
Yeah, so that's a very important question, and I'm going to take some time to answer that, Chitra. When we talk about mainstreaming, the age at which intervention begins is very critical, because if no child will admit no school will admit a child after the age of 5 or 6. I mean, that's the maximum that they will wait. In fact, nowadays it's even younger. So we need to have skills in place by that age if we are to give our child a chance to continue in the mainstream schools. So the age of intervention becomes important. Research also says that the hours of intervention are also important. So 20 to 25 hours of intervention a week is what a lot of the research seems to indicate. A child who comes into the ComDeal program gets about 15 hours of intervention in a week. In addition to that, we empower parents to carry forward the work in their environments so that the 20 to 25 hours criteria is met. Now, the ComDeal program works in terms of understanding the child's developmental profile, understanding where are the gaps in development, so that these gaps can be plugged. Now, the critical element here really is the time factor. So if, let us say, at the beginning of the program, a child has a gap of about 2 to 3 years, in his development, and the child is already 3 years of age, that means in the next 2 years, the child has to cover this gap if we are to talk about mainstreaming. So exponential growth becomes critical. It's not enough just to show progress in the child, but the quantum of progress that the child is showing is also important. So with years of experience, the ComDeal program now tells us, we actually can say in the first 3 months, these are the kind of changes we expect. In the next 6 months, these are the kind of changes we expect. Thereafter, this is what we will work on. And so speech will be one of the last things that we'll work on, but we'll work on all the other foundation skills that are required for speech to develop. And once speech develops, then we will work on conversational skills, what we call as pragmatics, to be able to take turns, to be able to answer questions, ask questions, to be able to narrate. The higher aspects of language get worked on. The classroom skills need work. So all of this are different pieces of the complex, program that, Dr. Pratibha Karanth has put together. Finally, when we come to the table and say, is this child ready for mainstreaming? We take that decision and make that recommendation when the gaps in the child's development are not more than 9 months across various domains of development. If those gaps are huge, then the child will not be able to, the environment will be too demanding on the child will not be able to cope, and we run the risk of the child actually losing or regressing, losing out on some of the skills that he might have developed in the program. So we have to be very certain that the child is on a strong wicket before we put the child into regular school. So this is how it was in the early years of the ComDeal in Mumbai. Over the years now, I find that many schools are willing to take in children, which is a good thing and a bad thing. A good thing if, as a school, you are taking the child in and giving the kind of support that the child requires to be able to develop, plug the gaps in his development, and become one of the regular classroom. If you are taking the child in and it's just in name only, the child is just coming to school and going home, and not much is being done in terms of empowering the child and empowering the family, then I think it is a great disservice to the child, and a child who probably had a potential will actually miss out on a lot. So there are good things and bad things of, that I see around me today. There are schools which are helping. There are schools which have teams in place. There are shadow teachers who are coming in now and supporting our students. But I think a close monitoring of where the profile is heading is critical, so that we don't waste the critical and crucial years of a child's life.
Yeah, Deepa, then I guess from there you jump on straight to how early is early intervention, right?
Yeah, so we work with babies as young as 8 to 9 months, Chitra. So,
Wow.
some of them at that time, require a little bit of one-on-one help before we can put them into groups. But the earlier, the better is what I would say. And don't waste time thinking, hearing other people telling you, nahi, mera mama 4 saal mein bola tha, tumhara beta bhi bolega. So all of that is really nonsensical, and don't fall for that. Anything. I sincerely believe that a parent's doubts should be respected and addressed. And if a parent has a doubt, the parent should immediately consult and make sure that things are okay and not sit on it.
Absolutely. So many families we've seen where internally itself, the husband and the wife don't agree on it, right? Very many times where one parent intuitively knows that it's a miss, and the other one just refuses to accept.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, when you're talking about intervention and you're talking about the entire team doing all of this together, so uh, most people don't understand how a team, there's the concept of an entire team being there for the child and for the family is so important. So what would you say about that, Deepa?
Yeah, so that really is the strength of the ComDeal program, Chitra. And one of the things that it has done is underscored the importance of documentation. Right from the time that the child walks into the center, assessments are done. Assessments are repeated every 6 months so that the child's progress is monitored. Anything that is not happening as it should have gets picked up immediately. The beauty also is that all members of the team are working on the same piece of paper. So, the child's graph is plotted by every member of the team on the same paper. So every member now knows what are the other areas of development, that are influencing. So, for example, if I'm an occupational therapist, I am not only seeing the motor profile of the child, but I'm also seeing the language profile. I'm seeing the social and emotional development. Similarly, the educator on the team, for example, understands what are the sensory challenges and strengths that this child has, which can be utilized during her work to improve the child's cognitive abilities or understanding of various emotions. So, this is how teamwork gets facilitated within the ComDeal program. It is important, and team meetings are built into the program. So every therapist is responsible for making both progress reports as well as monthly targets for the children. These get discussed at the beginning of every month in terms of, what is the plan for the next month, what has been achieved, and where are we having issues. The ComDeal program will have a parent coordinator who will talk to the parents and explain to them what are the goals, what are the activities that you can do in order to facilitate whatever is happening in the center at home as well, to understand what are the challenges that they are having. The program mandates that there should be demonstration therapy for parents. So parents are required to come in and observe what is happening in the sessions so that they can see for themselves and, raise any flags that they may want to. So a lot of this is built into the program, and anybody who is an affiliate unit will not get recognition unless these features are, addressed and adhered to. So the teamwork is, happens beautifully, and it is the structure of the program which ensures that the teamwork happens. So there are other things that are built in, like, for example, there is a recognition of a group leader. So that's a certificate that the ComDeal Trust gives for a person who has completed XYZ number of years in the program and, achieved certain deliverables that are marked by the ComDeal Trust. People who work as group leaders for some amount of time have the potential to get recognized as master trainers. Like, for example, I am a recognized master trainer of the ComDeal Trust, which means that I can train other professionals in the program and various aspects of the program. So that is how, teamwork is built into the program. And teamwork is important, I said, because, like I said earlier also, development is nested. Development does not happen in silos. It is important for us to talk to each other and understand the various aspects of development so that we can help the child as a whole in totality.
That was lovely, Deepa. Thanks for sharing how important and critically, working together as a team is. Changing lanes completely to, what I do, Deepa, where I guide families in terms of future planning about money. I just wanted to pose the question to you that, are you able to guide families about, first is, the future planning aspect that is not about money, but generally about where, what would the family do? What are they envisaging the child when she becomes an adult, what's going to happen to them? And along with that, do they discuss about how they're going to be able to afford all of it, etc.?
Yeah, Chitra, that's a great question. And I'm going to answer it at two levels. Number one is that all our work is in early intervention. So the parents who come to us are typically the parents who have had a fresh diagnosis. So there is a lot that they are already trying to come to terms with in terms of, now life has to take a different path from what they had initially planned, probably. That is one. Many parents will require hand holding to deal with the emotional challenges alone, so that they're able to offer the kind of support that the child will require. They require hand holding in terms of managing resources. When I say resources, I don't mean the finances, but in terms of who is available when and how are we going to manage our child's time, how are we going to have a schedule in place for our child. So these are the different challenges that parents are dealing with at the time that they come to us. The second thing is that good or bad, whatever it may be, within 2 to 3 years, sometimes sooner, we will discharge the child from the program, because we believe that at the end of 3 years, we have done the best we can in terms of being able to give the foundation to the child in order to move forward either into a regular school or a special school kind of setup. After that, some families continue to keep in touch with us, many don't. Life takes over, I suppose. And like I said, families are now coming back to me after a gap of many years to tell us maybe sometimes good things that have happened, sometimes challenges that they're facing, different kind of challenges at this particular stage in their child's life. We have been pretty sincere in terms of telling them about Forum for Autism, because we tell them that here is a parent support group that can really support you. You might recollect that there were times where I have invited Beena to come over and talk to our parents and motivate them to become a part of the forum. In spite of our best efforts, it takes a while before a parent travels this journey and starts recognizing the various kinds of supports that are available to them and to start accessing these supports. In the early stages, many parents are not receptive to this. Having said that, we do make literature available. And I will be honest, that is the second part of my answer. I will be honest in saying that so far, we have not really looked at helping parents plan the financial aspects of,
That's absolutely okay. That's absolutely fine, Deepa. I understand. As you said, the stage at which they're coming to you is really, really early.
Correct.
They're still dealing with acceptance, and they're still dealing with so much, and about just getting the child to you on a day-on-day basis, especially in a city like Mumbai.
We work very hard, Chitra, to get a parent association going. We have not been successful in. We have had mixed success, I would say, in terms of, I do have a pool of mothers who tell me that, Deepa, if any parent who comes into your program wants to speak to somebody, I am available. But in terms of, we tried different things. We started a toy library. We started a book library, which we said parents will handle. So it's been with mixed success. I won't say that we've been very successful in getting that kind of thing going the way I would have liked it to. And I think there are very compelling reasons why that has not happened.
Absolutely. I get it.
Yeah.
So I'd like to come to our last question, Deepa. 3 things you would like to see changing for people with disabilities in India. What would they be?
Yeah, Chitra, that's a great question. And for me, I'm very passionate about parents being able to get a break. I feel that our country has no safe places where, even for a couple of hours, parents can leave their children and just be able to, breathe or take a walk in the park, to put it very simply. So that is something that I would like that change to happen in our country. And I feel that college students could be a valuable resource that is, I mean, they're an undertapped resource. And I see a change in the younger generation. The younger generation is more inclusive. They're not really bothered about labels. They are more embracing. And I think, if we can go about sensitizing, and that's, Chitra, one of my post-retirement plans. So if we can go about sensitizing and involving...
Definitely looking forward to that. Yeah.
So I'm looking at a more accepting society, Chitra, a society where people are not defined by labels. People are more accommodating of differences, where people appreciate that there is a reason why somebody is behaving in a particular fashion, and that perhaps the way I respond to it might bring about a lot of change. So that's my, that's the change I would like to see.
Beautiful, Deepa. This is really, really amazing. And I'm really looking forward to, working with you on that plan that you have for the future. So, Deepa, this was really absolutely fantastic. Your passion to set up a team, help families get intervention in time, most importantly, help families to get intervention for the children in time and in one place, especially in a city like Mumbai, where people have to travel all over. To make all of that available, all the services available under one roof has been superb. Your passion shines through whenever you speak. It's a pleasure listening to you about your work. And how you shared about, you should make it fun for every child when you're actually teaching them to communicate with their world. But that was so beautiful. Also, what you said about functional communication was so apt, about how many more services need to be available for families with special needs. When you said at the end, even that was really, really nice. I really hope many families and professionals listen to this podcast and learn from your expertise and experience. Having a professional like you in our lives makes our life much, much easier. It's actually like, we reach you and then you show us the path. And that helps our child reach their full potential in life. Thank you so much, Deepa. Thank you just for being there for all of us, for so many families. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, really.
Thanks so much, Chitra. And I will not sign off without saying that this is one of the most humbling professions. And every day you realize how much you don't know. And every family, every child that you work with teaches you something. And for that, I'm eternally grateful, Chitra. Thanks so much for this platform. God bless.
You were listening to the Special Needs Children podcast with Chitra Iyer, the CEO of MFA and a trustee with the Forum for Autism. If you find this podcast relevant and interesting, it will be great if you leave a review, share, like, and subscribe. You can also let us know if there is any specific topic that you would like us to cover. Feel free to email her on chitra.iyer@myfinad.com, or you can call her on 9833785892. That is 9833785892.